This week on Supercars Torque, someone finally stands up to Shane van Gisbergen, Super 2 forgets to go full Super 2, and Scott McLaughlin takes another IndyCar win. The big news this week is gold, gold, gold. Macca Jones's special Pizza Hut livery. Wow. A lot of people are probably going to say they don't like it because it's so plain. But yeah, that metallic gold just... Macca had said that there was something special coming up. I think it's only for this round. It was some Pizza Hut thing, so many months of growth or something, that they've had new stores or something like that. Wow. That's all I can say about it, just wow. Imagine how good that would have looked if this was a night race. But the big news this week, IndyCar related. Scott McLaughlin, another win. If you do not watch the IndyCar series, do yourself a favour and have a look at it. To me, it's well up and above Formula One at the moment. It's bordering on being my favourite category with supercars, really. Actually, though, the big talking point this weekend was that incident in race 1 between Shane van Gisbergen and Brodie. Good hard racing to me, really. I think that Erebus probably put that protest in just to kind of clear up exactly what everyone can and can't do, because there is a little bit of conjecture about what is Shane kind of bumping and running. Brodie got his bad sportsmanship warning or whatever for blocking when, yeah, you can block within the last 3 laps apparently. I don't think you can full on block, but yeah, you can kind of move around and do what he was doing. So I think they were more, rather than getting Shane penalised or anything like that, they just wanted clarity on what exactly you can and can't do. Obviously, if there is overlap, you are good to go, which is the same thing as what happened in Newcastle with Chaz Mostert. So let's hope now, fingers crossed, that is put to bed and there is no more questions over what can and can't happen this year. Zero chance of that happening. Surprisingly, Super 2, after they changed how they were going to do the races to the timed races over the weekend, basically didn't go full Super 2 all weekend. Race 1 basically went through that without a yellow. They had a yellow very early on in the race, but the rest of it was quite clean. And then race 2 was looking the same thing until they went not full Super 2, but they went a little bit medium Super 2, where they had the yellow for, I forget who it was, that lost a wheel, and then Brad Vaughan got spun off on the, well, it was actually the second lap after the restart, but yeah, and then, you know, safety cars breed safety cars. The big thing from the weekend from those guys, Ryan Wood took out both race wins in that car that Nick Percat was running last year, so that shows that it wasn't a problem with the car. And funnily enough, WAU, who were nowhere with those cars last year at Wanneroo, taking out both wins in Super 2 with the cars that the main guys couldn't get their heads around last year. So that was a little bit interesting. So now, as what has become traditional this year, I'm going to run through team by team in reverse championship order. Just a little bit of rundown of each and everyone's weekends. Kicking it off with Blanchards, who unfortunately, because they only have one car, will continue to always be last in the championship. Hazelwood, Saturday, that was a really, really impressive run. Just missed out in getting into Q3 because they thought they could get through, and they saved a set of soft tyres to get through, so they'd have a fresh set for qualifying. Just missed out, ended up qualifying 12th, but yeah, just drove through the field, ended up finishing 4th in that race. Believe it or not, because the TV cameras basically missed that whole drive, and then all of a sudden he just popped up 4th in the end, and how did that happen? But yeah, brilliant drive nonetheless. 7th and 14th on Sunday, not so bad for the one car team. He now sits 11th in the points table, kind of proving me wrong when I questioned why he would make that move in the off-season. Matt Stone Racing. LeBrock, outstanding on Saturday, qualifying 4th, and he was running right in that front group of guys until a little bit of a mishap in the pits, and he finally dropped down to 12th. Results of 15th and 24th on Sunday, which weren't helped by getting a 15-second drive-through penalty for dive bombing Fraser when Golding was passing Fraser, and then LeBrock thought it would be a bit opportune and kind of dive bombed him going into that last corner. Yes, it was a dive bomb. Fraser did also turn in as though there was no LeBrock there, which, yeah, there's been a couple of little niggles of this year from Fraser, little kind of rookie stuff. Jack does sometimes get himself involved in these incidents, a little bit needless. Yeah, I didn't place full blame on LeBrock, but he did get full blame for it. Anyway, yeah, it was a dive bomb, so probably justified. Hill, best result of the weekend of 16th in race 3. Nothing to shout home about. But yeah, just a kind of solid rookie campaign. I suppose if it wasn't for Matt Payne out there, you'd probably be looking at this as a bit better, you know, rookie campaign than some of the guys last year. LeBrock is sitting still in the top 10 in points. He's in 10th position currently, which is a big improvement on where these guys were last year at least. Team 18, well, Frosty's 600th race was quickly forgotten once the cars hit the track. Yeah, Pye finishing 10th in race 3 was the only highlight of the weekend for them. Just, yeah, you didn't really see them on TV. There was no results from them. It was a bit, it was just a nothing weekend from those guys. Premier Racing, it did feel a bit of a nothing weekend from those guys, but when you actually look at the results, Slade had 2 top 10 positions and Golding was 11th in 2 races. So actually, yeah, not bad results considering it didn't really feel like there was much results from them. Interesting one in the second race on Sunday, the final race of the weekend. I was thinking, why, you know, there's still people pitting early in these races. It has not worked in the first couple of races, but still people tried it in the third race. I pick on Slade because he had the effective lead for a long period of that race. He was the first one who'd stopped like running on the road for a long time. Then when all the dust settled at the end, he just got mowed down and, you know, passed by all the front runners, proving that strategy just didn't work, which is funny because on the flip side, like the guys who ran long on the earlier stint and then had a fresh tyres towards the end, that seemed to work. So I'm not sure why it doesn't work the other way, but it just doesn't. Dick Johnson Racing, another questionable weekend from these boys. Davison ran 8th, 6th and 7th in the races, so consistent, but I would have questioned whether he was even in the top 10 in any of the races. Yeah, it was just very kind of anonymous. He's still in the top 10 in points. Anton, on the other hand, he got a 13th in one of the races. He's 19th in the points. Did qualify 3rd for the Sunday morning race, but he then spun Dave Reynolds early in that race and got himself a 15-second penalty, so ended up nowhere again. Even though he qualified well for that one, he buggered it up, and then, yeah, just not a good year for them really at the moment. Tickford. I think we can kind of sum up their weekend by saying their shining light, Cam Waters, took until race 3 to actually be the lead car from that stable. The low light for Cam Waters, I suppose, was in Saturday's race, getting spun by Jaime as he was trying to get into the pits while they were battling for about 19th position on track. Yeah, just... Courtney though. Courtney had a pretty good weekend. We did see him get himself on the podium. He's jumped from, you know, from Percat levels in the points all the way up to, what is it, 17th, I think. Let's look at the notes. Yeah, he's jumped up to 17th in the points. He's already leapfrogged the other two cars from the stable. So, yeah, that's all we need to say about those guys. Brad Jones Racing. Fullwood and Jaime kind of reverted back to being midfield runners after the highs of Albert Park. Yeah, just pretty ordinary from those guys. Jones and Smith, their typical kind of backfield propping up the ladder, I suppose you'd call them. We did get to see Smith on the TV though when he tried to take off from the pits with only 3 wheels attached. That ended as expected. Suppose we did get to see him on TV though, because we didn't really get to see the Pizza Hut car much, even though it looked spectacular. Yeah, the cameras just seemed to forget it was there all weekend. Walkinshaw and Andretti United. Chaz was the nearly man all weekend, I suppose. He was nearly in that lead pack, but not quite all weekend. Just a kind of solid-ish weekend. Considering how bad they were here last year though, really good. He's still second in the points, and if that's like, this was their worst weekend last year, if this is a worst weekend this year, he could actually really be in this championship fight, because yeah, it was just one of those weekends where you kind of look at it, where you think at the end of the year when they win a championship, you're like, you know, that kind of, that drive in Wanneroo where the car wasn't quite there, that was, you know, that kind of collecting points kind of weekend, just solid for a championship kind of hunt. Percat, on the other hand, well, what can we say? Big improvement for him over the weekend. He was actually like a midfield runner all weekend. A best of finish of 13th, but just, you know, that's pretty good at the moment, considering what's been happening. He's still last in the championship, but yeah, it's considering how much of a disaster this was for them last year. Yeah, it's a very solid weekend from the boys from Clayton. Grove Racing, just a really solid weekend from these guys. Just, yeah, solid is the best way to describe it, I suppose. Reynolds, 3rd, 14th and 4th. The discrepancy there with the 14th, that was of course when Anton gave him a spin in race 2. He was running right up the front in that race, other than that happening. And then you've got Max Payne. His rookie year is actually going really well. I probably need to drop that Max Payne and call him his actual Matt Payne. 6th, 9th and 18th results for the weekend. Just really solid. I did predict he was going to be trashing cars left, right and centre. He's just been really solid. The two of them are 6th and 12th in the championship. Just really solid from the Groves. 888, just it was a mixed bag this weekend. Shane obviously won the first race from Brody. Feeney took out the 3rd race, but then they were up and down. Yeah, I don't know how else to describe it other than just a mixed bag. Yeah, it's not what we've come to expect from these guys. It just didn't feel like the 888 that we're used to. And finally, the championship leaders, Erebus. That's got a really good ring to it, actually. Other than Brown's disastrous Saturday, these guys weren't off the podium all weekend. So Brody was 2nd on Saturday, and then they had the 1-2 with Brown winning on Sunday morning, and then 2-3 in Sunday afternoon, just behind Brock Feeney. Yeah, they're looking like serious championship contenders. You kind of, you sometimes at the start of the year you get these oddities where someone kind of pops up the front and then they drop down. I'm thinking a few years ago, Michael Caruso started off the season and actually led coming out of Adelaide and then just dropped down the order. No, the Erebus boys, they're looking very, very, very solid. Like they're actually going to be a championship contender all year. I did predict them to come up the field with this change, but they are seriously looking like they could take out the drivers and the teams championship this year. Both of them are doing a really, really good job. Just really solid. I'm so impressed with what they're doing. I can't put words to it. So that's it for my Wanneroo review. Down in the comments, let me know who impressed you over the weekend. For me, obviously, it was Erebus Motorsport and that gold paint job from Macaulay Jones. Too bad the results didn't match how good that car looked. Also, I did have a prediction over the weekend that Feeney was going to match SVG or give him a run for his money. It did happen in the third race. The other two a little bit now. Yeah, but I did also predict Frosty for a big result and was totally wrong on that one. So yeah, down in the comments, let me know who impressed you over the weekend. And are you happy that now we have full clarity on what is a racing incident and what the guys can get away with? Anyway, until next time, I'm still Dave and I'll catch you later.